We are inside of After Effects, and we're creating the lower third graphic. I'm going to go ahead and boot up After Effects, and it looks like my welcome screen isn't opening. Okay, there it is. I'll close it. If you don't want to show the welcome screen each day, remember you can deselect that and choose Close. You can always go up to Help, Welcome, and Tip of the Day to bring it back. Hopefully you guys are studying the tips. They're great to get you up to speed because it's much more than pressing buttons. It's the knowledge under the hood of these applications that's going to take you to the next level. Alright, so here I am. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to follow the workflow. Window, Workspace, reset my standard workspace. Perfect. And I'll go ahead and save this project. File, Save As. I'll call this lower thirds. And I'll save it to the place I'm saving my lower thirds. Everyone should have a folder on the thought space for their lower thirds. Excellent. I'll go ahead and create the composition. Composition, new composition. We'll call this Maria Velasquez for my first lower third. And always from this point forward, NTSC DV widescreen. The mystery is solved. For the duration, 10 seconds. Everything else we leave at their defaults. Nothing going on with that. I'll click OK. We talked about a couple of buttons you want to be conscious of inside of the composition panel. Number one, the plus, greater than, less than keys. Zooms in and out. You can always click the pop-up menu and fit that into view. Great keyboard shortcuts, less than, greater than, or comma period. We also talked about expanding to make sure you're in the correct aspect ratio by clicking this little aspect ratio button to toggle it so we're getting the rectangular pixels of a widescreen view. And then I'll go ahead and turn on my title safe. Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and now create my text layer. I'll grab the type tool and I'll click inside of the title safe area, Maria Velasquez. I'll press enter and CTE, computers. I'm going to command enter or control return to select that text, and I'll grab my selection tool to put the type tool away. I'm done with it. To do all of my formatting, we use the character panel. So here's the character panel. If you don't see it, window, character. Keyboard shortcut control 6. For the font family, I'll select the first name, get in there and grab that name with the type tool, and we'll increase the font to separate it from the title. I'll click inside of here and use my up and down arrows to cycle through fonts. You may want a thick font for this one and a smaller font for the title of the person. It's totally up to you. Scrub that down. I'll select the computers and I'll scrub that to make it a little bit smaller. Perfect. If you want to turn off your title safe now to see your text as you work, by all means do so. We also talked about selecting text individually, changing the font color to whatever you like, as well as accessing the stroke and applying an outer stroke effect to your text if you want. And we also talked about the attributes of the stroke being the width of the stroke. And you can also play around with this attribute, fill over stroke or stroke over fill. When you're done, great time to save because you never know, the system may quit. You find yourself doing this stuff over and over again. Perfect. I could go ahead and format this until my heart desires, but I'm going to keep this as is right now. I'm going to create the bar effect now before we animate. We'll create our elements and then we'll animate. You may have noticed in my paragraph panel that everything was aligned to the left. If you had some other type of alignment, then your text probably was acting wacky. So align to the left, make sure that was set in the paragraph panel. Perfect. To create the bar, I'm going to deselect anything, because if you have something selected as you create graphics in After Effects, sometimes you create masks and you get unexpected results. So I'll deselect. Layer, new, solid. Keyboard shortcut Control Y. We can call this bar and make sure it's the comp size. Click the color swatch to set it to whatever color you want your bar to be. Click OK, click OK. We now have this layer that's covering up the entire screen based on the stacking order inside of our timeline area. If I move that bar to the bottom, take a look at that. The text now shows. And we can have this as a graphic if we wanted to, huh? A colored background with text. But in this case, I'm going to actually resize the bar. So I'll grab one of these diagonal handles, just pull it in to taste, and reposition. Great time to turn on title safe to see what's happening. Look at that, I'm out of my safe zone. So I'll move that text up and reposition my bar. Okay. I'm going to go with something like that, but you guys can go with whatever you want. I don't like the color of the bar, so I'm going to make it the same color of this text right here. So, layer, solid settings. And I can go back in there and set my color by grabbing the eyedropper and selecting this green. Bam. Now I've reset my solid settings for my bar. Click OK and the mystery is solved. I could probably apply a stroke to this, but that would be under the effect menu, and that's probably outside the scope of this lesson. But I could go effect, generate stroke, and generate a stroke, but I have to see what's kind of happening with the stroke effect. So I'm going to delete that. But there's our bar. I think I'm going to make that bar white. Layer, solid settings, make it white. Perfect. I'll turn off my title safe. Take a look at my text. Looks like things aren't aligned. If you want to, you can always align things by using the Align panel. I'll select both layers, and I can use the Align panel to align left. Window, Align. And here's the Align panel. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Align panel or not in other applications, but it allows you to align things so that they're perfectly aligned and take all the guesswork out of it. So with all these two objects selected, I can align to the left, bam, to ensure that the alignment is there. I like the Align panel, precision. I'm also making sure I'm aligning to the selection and not the composition. But that's probably outside the scope of this lesson, but you can see, you guys, there's all sorts of things under the hood to help you compose your documents before you animate. Excellent. I'll just animate these and then I'm done. The Align panel, bye-bye. I'll close you. When I need you, window, align. Okay, now we can begin the animation. I'm going to close down some of these panels to make room. Paragraph panel, bye-bye. And now I have a longer timeline. 10 seconds duration. Let's set up the bar effect. I want it to start off screen at 0. And at 1 second, I want it to zip on screen. So, step 1, I'm at the beginning of my timeline. Select the bar and press P for position. Move the bar off screen by scrubbing the X value while holding the Shift key. The X value happens to be this first parameter. This is the Y value, X and Y. So my position happens to be -226.8, and it happens to be off screen. If you don't see some of this outside area, remember to zoom in with your comma key so that you can see some of the outside area. I'm also spacebar dragging to bring up the hand tool, similar to what we do in Photoshop. Okay, the bar is now off screen. I can now add a keyframe at hour 0. Bam! Click the stopwatch. I now must move my playhead in time to 1 second. And then I can reposition the bar under the text. I'm going to hold the Shift key as I scrub the X value until the bar kind of sits under the text. Initially, what I like to do is before I animate, I like to take a look at the values, because I could have just typed in that value. But now I'm kind of guesstimating where my alignment is. After I did all the trouble of aligning and stuff, now I don't know where it is. So you can write down these numbers, you guys. There's a lot of math and stuff involved in After Effects. You can let your parents know that you're using your math skills to create animations and stuff, you know. But there it is. I now have created this path. I now have 2 keyframes that let me know that, hey, there's something going on between these 2 keyframes. The beauty of this is that After Effects does all the dirty work. It calculates where the bar should be and where it should move between the 2 keyframes. Isn't that cool? And there's a technical term behind that, and they call that interpolation. What's happening between the 2 keyframes? I like to right-click the second keyframe and add a little bit of ease in effect from my keyframe assistant. Easy ease in. So that that bar kind of comes to a nice, smooth stop. And you can feel the inertia of that stopping point. Huh. Just feels cool. Excellent. I now need to add a effect to my text. So I'll select the text, and I'm going to move to the 1 second mark, right after the animation of the bar stops. And I'll have that text animate in. So, animation, browse presets. If Bridge doesn't open, then go to your Start menu and open Bridge. If you're having problems, then see me. I'm going to have to show you how to navigate using the path to find your presets. On the Mac, you can see it's Computer, Hard Drive, Applications, Adobe, Presets. On the PC, it's probably totally different. But I'm here. I can select the text folder and take a look at any of these to see if something works. Here's Organic, Autumn. Here's Double Bounce. That's kind of cute. Something that animates on screen. If something animates off screen, you're going to have to reverse the keyframes. And let me show you what I mean by that. If you ever just animate out. You see how this keyframe, this is animating off screen? I'm going to double click that to add it to my text. Bam. And now you can see that the text kind of animates off screen. Totally not what I want. I need it to animate on screen. So what you can do is you can actually reverse the keyframes. With this text selected, I'm going to press U to bring up the keyframes that are animated for this particular layer. I'll select both of these keyframes by clicking and dragging until they turn yellow, or I can simply click the offset name to select them. I'll right click and I'll use something called Keyframe Assistant, Time Reverse Keyframes. Now the text disappears, and as I play it, the text fades on screen. So there's a lot going on under the hood of After Effects. If you're unsure or uncomfortable about reversing keyframes, use something simple. But it gets a lot harder, and I wouldn't say harder, but more technical. So make sure you're covering the basics of the fundamentals. Because next week we add something to the plate, and you're probably going to be totally lost if you're not getting these concepts under your belt. So review this tutorial as much as you like to get this stuff before we move on to more advanced techniques. I'm going to deselect and press U to close down these keyframes, Control S to save. Last but not least, we must make the movie because I can't do anything with the project file. So with the composition selected, Composition, Add to Render Queue. I'll go ahead and click the lossless name to make sure that I'm accepting alpha as well as RGB to trigger transparency. If not, you're going to have a black background with text and wonder when you put this on V2, why isn't just the text showing? RGB plus alpha. Click OK, and saving it, where it says output 2, you click the name, and you can save this to the place you're saving your final movies for your lower thirds. So that when you're looking for a lower third that's finalized, there's nowhere to go but one place. I'll save it. Some of you guys have stuff just scattered everywhere. And then you come to class, you get frustrated, and you sit and you talk to your buddy because you can't find the files and stuff like that. Okay, everything looks good. I'll click the render button to create the animation. We should hear music to our ears. My speaker is turned off, so we didn't hear the music to my ears. But I can actually verify by minimizing After Effects, minimizing Bridge, navigating to my lower thirds folder, finalize movies, and here she is, Mrs. Velasquez. Look how clean that text is, you guys. I mean, pretty simple, but this is what we're covering right now, the basics. Trust me, After Effects gets much more intricate than this. Okay, that's going to do it for the video. Hopefully it helped. If not, you guys let me know. I can come around and help you. The end.